We like to tell ourselves that we are trying. We are trying our absolute best. But deep down, there is a part of us that has always been rooting against us all along. And this part of us has been the culprit who has been orchestrating quiet failures for years without ever making a sound. It sounds dramatic, okay? But bear with me for a second. I have been studying this, and I don't mean like academically, like some textbook. No, I mean like by living it, by watching the way that people, and myself included, sabotage their own lives. It's subtle, almost invisible. And, sometimes we like to dress it up as self care or waiting for the right time. But really, it's all about fear, you know? The fear of success, the fear of exposure, the fear of the version of ourselves that we don't know yet how to control. There's a part of us that has learned to manipulate our mind, okay? It has mastered the art of manipulating us, okay? I sound a bit paranoid. But listen, okay? That whisper, that part of us likes to whisper excuses, and it's a part of us that also rationalizes inaction, rewiring your motives and all of that stuff so that you feel safe. But the reality is you actually remain powerless. Now, I have caught myself doing this more than several times, okay? I have convinced myself that I am very disciplined, while strategically I was choosing the path that had the least resistance. And here's a kicker, okay? It feels righteous, okay? It feels like you're doing the right thing, but it's not. Like, not really, okay? It's the self that fears confrontation with itself, you know? My dad used to say, the fight that you don't see is the one that changes everything. And when I heard this for the first time, I was like way younger. So I didn't really understand what he meant, okay? What I thought that he meant was the future, work, competition, something that I can't see now, but I'll get to it later. But he was talking about the subtle rutting erosion that we permit inside our own mind. You know, the quiet internal adversary, the one that we ignore because admitting it is just way too uncomfortable for us. I remember lying awake one night, just staring at the ceiling, tracing the decisions that I've come across my whole life, and every step that I skipped, every risk, every that I avoided, every truth that I refused to face. Looking back at it, I started to realize just how just how deliberate all my actions were. And I do not mean like deliberate, like I knew what I was doing, like it was a conscious thing, like I was purposely, intentionally, that's what I decided to do in that moment. No. But I mean, in like deliberate in a way that fear quietly engineers the whole outcome. And it engineers it in a way where you think that you made the choice and you were very smart because you calculated all the risk. But no, it was all planned out. My mom, you know, used to say, you can't hide from yourself. And as much as I'd like to argue with that, because I like to argue a lot, and I actually wanted to believe that I was actually really trying, the truth is, I wasn't trying hard enough because a part of me was actively rooting for me to just stay where the hell I am and just remain as I am. Think about it, okay? Have you heard of cognitive dissonance? It's not a concept in a book, okay? It's something that's lived, okay? I'm saying okay a lot, but bear with me. It's when you rationalize your failures or when you normalize your compromises. You It's when you convince yourself that stagnation is comfortable. Meanwhile, that quiet part of you that is orchestrating all of this, the shadow self, grows stronger because it is something that thrives on invisibility. And what I mean by that is that it is something that thrives on you being unaware of it. Even the Bible acknowledges it in its own subtle way. It says, you'll find it in Matthew, somewhere there. Watch and pray, lest you enter into temptation. And it is not because temptation is, external, but because the internal architect of your failure can be could very much be yourself. It is clever, it is strategic, and it disguises sabotage as self-preservance. Most people never see it, okay? They think that setbacks are just something external. Bad luck, the weather, toxic people, the timing, all the whole universe. It's my fate. But the real architect of those setbacks are often themselves. Here's something that most people won't openly admit. Self-sabotage is a seductress, okay? It is easier than confrontation. It is invisible and it likes to manipulate guilt, anxiety, and desire all at the same time. It ensures that you stay trapped in the cycle of disappointment while giving you the illusion of agency. Now this shadow self doesn't scream. It's not a loud enemy. Okay, it whispers, it tests, it waits, it tempts you silently, subtly, and it knows exactly where to pull your strings. It thrives in the pauses between the intention and action, and in the moments that you tell yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," or "I deserve this moment of compromise." And I know that you felt it. You have felt the pull yourself, that invisible internal referee who is never impartial. And it's cruel, okay? It's cruel not because it hates you, but because it knows you very intimately, more than you'd care to admit. Now, that is why awareness without action is another kind of manipulation, because it's basically your mind saying, "You see me, you know me, but still, you'll do what I want." The hardest battles aren't fought with others, okay? They're fought in silence, in the internal arena deep inside you, where the person who should have been your greatest ally turns out to be your greatest enemy. Sometimes I feel, like the quiet horror of realizing that the enemy is someone familiar, you know, that the one orchestrating these little failures is basically the version of me that has lived in fear for so long. So the war is from within, okay? It's not just about the small victories or failures. It's about noticing when you've surrendered. It's noticing that you've already surrendered without even realizing it. That the part of you that has been rooting against you, it won't leave quietly. It's going to continue to be there. It's going to continue to whisper to you, to wait, and study you, and just wait for that opening to. So the war is really inside you, and it's not about small victories or failures. It's really about noticing when you've surrendered without even realizing. The part of you that has been rooting against you, it's not going to leave, okay? It is a part of you, okay? And it's going to continue to exist. It's going to continue to whisper and study you and wait for its chance to just sink its teeth into you. And it tests every intention. And the only way to face it is to just stop pretending, to sit with it, to admit the parts of you that you have been hiding from yourself. I'm not telling you to defeat it in some grand gesture, expel your demons or whatever, but to recognize it, to acknowledge it, and to really look at it clearly. And here's the hardest truth about this: the person that you fear the most in this war is the one staring back at you in the mirror. Let's end this with a quote from my dad, okay? I'll be quoting my dad. My dad used to say, "You can't fight what you won't admit is there." And for years, I really thought that he was exaggerating. Maybe he was off in Lululand once again. But now I finally get it. And maybe just that awareness, that's the start.